Ron.
Hi,
Who are you?
I'm Ron Cox. I'm an associate professor of political science here at Florida International University. I work and I live in Miami, Florida. And for 2 years I had a very debilitating voice condition known as spasmodic dysphonia. It started with a throat infection back in 1996, the summer of 96. It kept progressively getting worse. It started out as a sore throat, and I thought once the sore throat went away, my voice would come back to normal. The voice just steadily deteriorated, and it was really bad. It was so bad it took tremendous physical effort to speak. I had to use my whole body. It was triggered in part by not only the throat infection, but a neck condition that I had called spasmodic torticollis, which contributed to the tightening of my vocal cords and I think added to the problems with the voice that I was experiencing. Through some experimentation over the next year, I had gotten somewhat better with my neck, but it was still a ways from recovering and my voice was still bad. So I went to see Connie Pike, a voice therapist, and she has a clinic that she offers in the town in which she lives, in Florida, close to Tampa, Florida. I went to see her. I was part of a small group that went to one of her group sessions, which lasts pretty much an entire weekend. And we engaged in holistic methods for try to treat this disorder, which included things like breathing. She had a breathing specialist. It also included various vocal exercises. She has since incorporated more mind-body techniques and really even more of a focus on psychology in some of her recent sessions, from what I understand. All of these things ended up helping me and contributing to my recovery over the long term. It turned out to be a kind of grab bag of different things that contributed to me getting my voice back. Since that clinic, it took about 1 year from the time of the clinic. I went to see her in 2007 in July, and by early part of 2008, I started to see recovery. Roughly 7 to 8 months after I saw her, I began to see a recovery. And it was not a linear process. It was a process of many ups and downs. Initially, I seemed to have some improvement, but then it got worse. I sort of panicked and got a Botox shot, which made it even worse still. And my voice was really bad for 2 or 3 months. Then it started to get a bit better once the Botox wore off, and once I started doing the exercises again. But then I reached the point where the exercises became almost counterproductive. I think I was doing them too hard and too long at times. I was not allowing my body time to rest and reflect on the nature of the condition. So I had to distance myself a bit from the exercise routine and try different things. The techniques that seemed to help was that I would pay attention to those minutes during the day, and it literally was just a few minutes, when my voice would sound normal. And I would try to lock in that normal voice, particularly during the evening before I went to bed. If I could get a normal sounding voice, I would try to repeat phrases in that normal voice, and that seemed to help. It was like a process of retraining my brain. And then in addition, I would be reading the mind-body literature that Connie recommended as a way of understanding that it was part of a psychological process. How I thought about how I was speaking was just as important as the physical exercises, and particularly to get the cadence and the kind of rhythm that one gets when one is engaged in conversation, as opposed to the authoritative lecture-style voice that I often have as a classroom teacher. I had to get away from such an authoritative voice and learn to be more conversational. I would describe it as bouncy. A bouncy vocal cord is a good vocal cord in the sense that you want to give your vocal cords the experience of being able to do different things, different ranges, different tones. That's why singing was also an important part of my recovery for a time, because it stretched out the vocal cords. But again, I don't think it's any one thing. I I think it's a combination of these different things that help lead to the recovery. When I started getting better, it happened pretty dramatically. I noticed, these big improvements within a span of a month or so, and I had not done any formal exercises for the previous 2 to 3 months. I had simply been experimenting with trying to lock in the good voice for short periods of time. And then I noticed it was starting to come more rapidly. Although initially it was a slow process with a lot of ups and downs, and initially I only had my good voice for a few minutes every couple of days. So it was about a year and 7 months or so before I actually started to see very serious improvement. And Connie Pike contributed a lot to that, but then thinking about the way the voice works contributed a lot as well. So here I am. I'm able to use the good voice all the time, and I've succeeded in recovering.
Thank you.